What's the title of this talk? It's the state of the non-alcoholic beverage industry in 2024. But first, my name is Joshua James, and this all started as Josh the non-alcoholic in June of 2020. But what got me to that point was I had to drink a lot. And then I had to stop drinking in late 2019. And I was like, I'm going to take a year off drinking to see what happens. And so many things happened. After geeking out on liquor, beer, and wine for over 20 years, I started geeking out on liquor, beer, and wine that was all non-alcoholic. I got to do what was my favorite thing ever, which was find really cool beverages and share them with people in a hospitality environment. At late 37, when I took that year off drinking, I was like, I don't want to work at any more bars, and I want to get out of the food and beverage industry. And then this opportunity came in halfway through of my year off of drinking that I couldn't pass up. As I was shooting videos on YouTube as Josh the Non-Alcoholic, I was at Ocean Beach, San Francisco, and I walked into this deli that was permanently closing. And within a couple minutes of being there, the owner was sitting on the couch in the back, and he was like, hey, you want to buy the place? And I was like, sure. How much? And he threw a number out at me, and I was like, sure. You mind if I have a seat? And we sat down and we talked for about 20 minutes. He had a turnkey brick and mortar food and beverage establishment right by the beach. I left that conversation on GoDaddy.com and looked at OceanBeachCafe.com, and it was like, green light, it's available. And I was like, oh, I was just getting out of this industry, but I had opened so many restaurants and bars for other people. And at 38 years of age, I was like, I should probably take all my experience in that industry and open up my own spot. So I committed to it. And in October and November and December, I was trying to get funding, was having a really hard time doing it. I had horrible credit. I had very little money in the bank, and it was like 9 months into COVID. But I figured there would be something for a Native American alcoholic trying to open a non-alcoholic bar in San Francisco during the pandemic, but there wasn't. And then an angel investor swooped in, and she was like, what do you need? And I was like, I need $20,000. And she's like, I just got an inheritance. I got that. I was like, amazing. Added a crowdfunding campaign, bootstrapped it, but I had just enough for the deposit. I gave that person a lot less than what he was asking for, and opened in dry January of 2021. And that was an amazing month to open. So why are non-alcoholic beverages such a big subject? We're here in the middle of 2024, and it is a household subject. And it really started and kicked off because of a perfect storm around dry January of 2021. People drank in 2020. And there were not bars to go out to drink, so they were doing it at home. And they got through the holidays of 2020. It became New Year's going into 2021, and they're like, that's it. I heard about this dry January thing. It's like about 45% of people were participating in dry January. I opened in the third week of that month, and a huge article came out in SF Gate. And it was about 5 days after I opened. And then the day after that article came in, a whole bunch of millennials started pouring into the shop. And when it first happened, I was like, okay, cool, this is working. But when that happened in a second day, and I sold out most of the stock that I could afford at the time, I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then the third day, the same thing happened, and I was like, oh, this is on. I am not getting a beer and wine license because I was going to bring alcohol in there as well so I could get everybody in there. And we're going 100% non-alc, and let's go. We sold double in the first month than I had projected, and we sold about 35% more in that year than I thought that we were going to do. And it was off to the races. So much work, and it was so hard, but I had the energy for that. I could wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I could still be working after 10 o'clock at night and just be so motivated and have so much energy because there was so much action of just taking everything on myself. And I got to learn how to run a business and manage people and payroll and ordering and operations and the flow of everything. And it was an amazing experience. In the beginning, I figured it would take about a year for everybody to kind of get it. And I guess it kind of did, looking back. And here we are, 3.5 years later. And it's something that everybody is talking about. The non-alcoholic beverage market is something that VCs are looking into. And CEOs are having conversations about, especially in Silicon Valley here in San Francisco. It's kind of like a bit of a brag to not be drinking alcohol. It's going to slow you down. They want to perform. They want to be productive. They want to be on point and sharp. So this industry has affected all aspects of life, and it feels amazing to have gotten started in the beginning as the second only non-alcoholic bar in the country, the third only non-alcoholic bottle shop at the time. And now everybody's talking about it.
All right, moving into the trend section. How do you think consumer preferences have shifted over the past year?
The way that I see consumer preferences shifting over the last year, I can say is very different than it was in 2021 and then 2022. And then in 2023, we got a lot of legitimate stats. This is like, what just happened in the last 5 years? To bring it to more of the present day, I would say people are interested in things that have some function. People are interested in things that are bitter and herbal, and the adaptogens, big buzzwords, along with nootropics, like ashwagandha and rhodiola and lion's mane, and then nootropics like GABA and 5-HTP. Like, what is this going to do for me? Nobody ever wants a really sweet drink, so mocktails, I would say, are out. It's still a super important word for marketing and for SEO and to talk about what you're doing at times. Mocktails themselves, I think, could be defined as something juice-based, and maybe it's $4 or $5. People are willing to pay $12, $13, $14, $16 for their non-alcoholic spirits. So while non-alcoholic whiskeys and gins and tequilas and mezcals still have a place in this market, it's neat to see in 2024 where things that are really original flavor profiles, standing on their own, perhaps have some function to them. Those are quite hot right now. Non-alcoholic beer, still a leader in the sheer amount of non-alcoholic beverage sales altogether. Non-alcoholic beer is going to take the biggest chunk of that. But the sheer potential of non-alcoholic wine, the interest, what gets people through my doors at Ocean Beach Cafe's non-alcoholic bottle shop the most, I would say could be targeted down to non-alcoholic wine. And that's kind of generational. People that have had experience with wine, they've had these memorable experiences. They were emotional. They would want to revisit them again. That's something you're going to find in a millennial and Gen X, just above that, boomers. And as far as the trends of what Gen Z is going to be drinking, we're in this exciting time of a gold rush of this industry. People getting in it right now. It's not too late. They get to help define what Gen Z might be drinking in 2 years. And I love thinking about that stuff. Because I don't even think I've really seen the brands that are really defining that generation. And in 3 years, they're going to be 29 years old. What are they going to be drinking? Because right now we know half of them aren't really feeling the booze. And there's a good portion of the other half that, like, yeah, they drink, and they also, maybe that isn't like their first thing to go to. As each generation comes up, the younger ones are more evolved. Think about our parents and their parents and their parents. How those generations evolve. We're seeing people that want to live healthier lives now. The shifting consumer preference is what things are going to be good for me. This is about wellness. And the alcohol industry is freaking out because with these shifting consumer preferences, they're like, how are we going to get a piece of this? What do we need to do now? And we're in an exciting time where all of those things are being figured out in real time.
So in the non-alc space, where do you see the greatest room for opportunity, growth, and innovation?
In the non-alcoholic beverage space, where I see the most innovation and growth happening is quality. Products are coming out left and right for years now. Say there's 500 products that have came out. How much of those are cash grabs? How much of those are people just putting out products, getting these RTDs to market, getting these mocktails to market, buying bulk wine, getting it de-alcoholized and being like, we got to get this stuff out now. What I see a lot of is stuff that I say no to in my non-alcoholic bar and bottle shop because I want stuff to just be awesome. What bartenders are getting tasted on in bars and restaurants across this country has historically put a bad taste in their mouth. And I think that's kind of slowed us down. Things could grow faster if there were things that were just so freaking cool that when bartenders tasted them, they were like, okay, this is awesome. Do you think that happened when they got a non-alcoholic whiskey? No. Do you think that happened when they got a watery distillate that just didn't have a lot of flavor? No. But there are products on market now that may be a little bit harder to find. There may be a bootstrap company. They're not in the big distributors' books that are really easy for bar managers to get to. A brand that's a bit bootstrapped isn't able to get into a Total Wine & More or a Bevmo or a Walgreens or a Target. They don't have the demand to supply that, and they don't have the ability to create the supply right now because there isn't that much demand. They're not able to fill a truck and get it out to 100 stores. But that also is some of the best stuff. So I do see the cream is going to rise to the top. We are in the bring a whole bunch of brands to market and then see what shakes out. And I do believe that that's going to be higher quality products that are very practical, effective, desirable. We're not drinking sugary drinks. We're drinking things that are going to do something for us, something that's going to make us feel good, something that's pretty, something that's in a nice packaging, something that we can cheers to, because it's not going to be water. If you're in that social setting and you're holding a glass of water, it doesn't work. It's not even as much of a psychological thing as it is a cultural thing. That's deep in there. Water just doesn't hit the same. You want to have something to drink while you socialize. And people are realizing it doesn't have to be alcohol in your hand. In fact, they don't want to drink as much during the week. And if they do drink on the weekends, maybe they're swapping it out for something that prolongs their evening and doesn't affect their Monday so much. You want names of high quality products in the space? Yeah, I can talk names about high quality products in the space. Some of the ones that come to my mind immediately, I think it's really neat what Aplos has done. Aplos is a brand that has money behind them, so they're able to get stuff out there and they're able to hire boots on the ground. So accessibility with them is great as well, but their product itself ticks all the boxes. It's a cool packaging. It has some viscosity to it, so there's some mouthfeel. I kind of need that when I'm making a cocktail. It has great aromatics, so it was super well made. The person that made that recipe and that went into that, the aromatics that come off of it are just amazing. But then it has adaptogens. Again, adaptogens loosely translates as things that de-stress the body. So there's actually function to it. So now I'm so much more interested in working with this product that's actually going to do something for me, or at least has some function. It's not that it's really given me a lift so much, maybe even just the intention, or there is something in there that gives it some properties to de-stress the body. Maybe something that's good for the brain, maybe something that gives you energy. I love that factor in a cocktail right now. It's kind of hard for me to go with one that doesn't have that, although I do that as well. Some other brands, I think Saban is super hot right now. It's got some mushrooms on the front. Mushrooms are hot. And there's 15 herbs and roots and flowers and nervines. That's one that maybe pops in a couple years. People are like, does that one have nervines in it? I hope so. Things for your nervous system. And Saban with its reishi mushrooms are full of that, which is great. Other things that come to mind that I love is what Cava Haven has done with a more potent Cava product. And since it has some lemon and it has some ginger and it has some agave, so it has some sweet, you can actually like take a shot of it. It's really intense, and Cava's like dirt, but like good dirt. And then now it has sweet and ginger and lemon. People are drinking and be like, oh, this is great. And then it also kind of numbs your mouth. I can mix the Cava Haven with the Ceylon, and now I have a drink that's got a lot of stuff going on in this cocktail. So this is a very new cocktail. So now we have a cocktail that numbs our mouth a bit, but also relaxes our muscles, especially when you have two. I think that stuff is kind of neat. Also, not necessarily for everybody, but for those that are into a head change and a body change and still want an adult cocktail that's not too sweet. Good products for that. Some of the other names that would come to mind is who's doing it well in non-alcoholic wine. It is so difficult to do. We get to see it getting better and better every year. And there's a wine that came to me from Austria. It's called Geronimo. And when I first smelled it, I was like, okay, where did this come from? And then I drank it. I was like, no, really, where did this come from? Austria? Do I have to fly to Austria right now? Do I have to go to Germany? Like, am I going to go like white label this stuff and like bring it to America? Because it became just by far and away the best thing I'd ever tasted. And that wine is just going to go to literally number one. It's the greatest of all time. So it's exciting to see wine getting better. I love you. I love you so much. It's so good. Other brands that come to mind, Prima Pave is another great non-alcoholic wine. It uses reverse osmosis, which is pretty rare to see. Technology is getting better in that space, which is amazing to see. Non-alcoholic beer brands, I mean, Athletic Brewing Company changed the world. They do, 50 or 60 different varieties every year. Most people don't see a lot of them because they brew them for their members. So I like to get to try a lot of those. And then I brewed beer for a long time. So like when I really want to geek out on something, like find me some Belgian stuff. Collective Arts out of Canada has done some amazing the fullest bodied IPAs and stouts that I've tasted. Collective Arts has done some amazing things. Beer, wine, spirits. I think Cut Above does a great job with the viscosity, flavor profiles. They're even kind of fun to taste by themselves when you're not really tasting a non-alcoholic spirit by itself, but they make a great product, and that product makes a great cocktail. And then other things that I love seeing and I've been stoked to participate in, the hemp-derived THC market is like the biggest thing since sliced non-alcoholic bread. You can sell THC that does get you high outside of a dispensary. I'm focused on low dose. I love low dose. 2 milligrams. Give me 2 milligrams, 5 milligrams. If you want more than that, order a second cocktail at this non-alcoholic bar. I love being able to focus on low dose and what that market is doing. I just really hope it's continued to allow to go on, because there needs to be an alternative to alcohol, and the alternative buzz category is a huge one.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing the non-alcoholic industry today?
Some of the greatest challenges facing the non-alcoholic beverage industry today is so many entrants. There is decision fatigue. There's like, what's good? And there's so many products to choose from is one of the problems with the industry right now. That not a lot of them are amazing is also one of the problems. If you don't have really great things being tasted to people that are in charge, like bar managers, so that they can give it to the masses and they can stand behind it and be like, check this stuff out. This stuff is awesome. Then it doesn't happen as fast. It's like the ones with the biggest marketing budgets that can just shove it into people's eyeballs are the ones that are getting out there. And that's the stuff that maybe isn't as great. It's cool to have a choice. And I can still make great cocktails with that stuff. I really wish that there was a higher quality. But the next is accessibility. Accessibility is such a huge thing, because how do you get it to the consumer is something that is so hard for so many brands. And how do you get it to other cities? How can you scale? Like scaling this whole non-alcoholic beverage market is extremely difficult and expensive. Other things that are slowing down the non-alcoholic beverage industry is actually people's preconceptions to what it is. This is a very new thing. There isn't too many things to compare it to. For example, if you were like 5 years ago to say non-alcoholic beer, what do you think one of the first things that would come to mind in a person's head? It would be O'Doul's, right? Or maybe some other beer that sat in the fridge for way too long. And not a good thought either. Like, it would be like, why are you drinking O'Doul's? Now, this is a trending thing and certainly not a fad. This isn't going anywhere. But it's actually kind of cool to hang out with a craft hazy IPA that's non-alcoholic. So when thinking about it like that, these preconceptions of like whatever we grew up with thinking just naturally and experiencing with non-alcoholic, you might think sober. Like, oh, okay, so this is a sober place. It's like, no, actually, it's the opposite of that. Most of the people that buy the products at my non-alcoholic bar and bottle shop do drink. So preconceptions again is like, it went from stigmatized to being cool. And there's so much education in that part of this space that needs to happen. If all of the bartenders were educated on what's going on in this industry and how to work with those products, how much different do you think the movement of non-alcoholic beverages would be? Beer, wine, spirits, elixirs, how to use them, how to talk about them, and what's good. If there was a robust education program for that from the brands that are selling these things, I think it would make a huge impact on the adoption of all of these products.
What advice would you give to someone looking to enter the
The non-alcoholic beverage industry as an entrepreneur has a lot to do with how much of experience they have and how much they've been following the space in the first place. Just like with any industry, if you're jumping into something, maybe you've had some information over the years and you have some knowledge about it, and now you're ready to make the plunge. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this country alone that are like, I want to give people a choice. And they're coming from all walks of life. And I have a lot of them come to me. And that's great because I have a lot of information that can really get them up to speed, especially if they're not coming from a hospitality background. And everybody seems to want to open a non-alcoholic bottle shop. I think that's great. We need one in every county and more. And I would love to help out with that. So depending on where they are in their experience and knowledge of the non-alcoholic beverage industry, I'd have a couple different answers for them. What I want is those sober bartenders, millennials, ready to open up a spot that society needs right now. And I'm so passionate about that. Like, we need social spaces that are open during the evening that don't revolve around alcohol. Please, would love to help out with that. If anybody wants to get into this in the non-alcoholic beverage industry, obviously you're going to have to do a ton of research. I was having a consultation yesterday. He was gathering his information in the most effective way that I've ever seen anybody do it. He was just getting after it, tapping the head of every part of the industry and getting meetings with them and soaking it all up. The amount of things that he got done in 2 weeks as far as his information gathering was unbelievable. And he was sitting there talking to me and I was like, good on you, man. So get that hustle, because that's just the beginning of the hustle. And there's a whole lot more to go. But it's also really hard, since this is such a new industry, to even go on ChatGPT and be like, what about this in non-alcoholic beverages? Can you give me some statistics? And it's like, it just happened. So it's really hard to actually find information that's relevant and potent, and what really needs to be read and heard and said is actually kind of hard to find. Also because it moves so quickly. And now we're in this rapid fire period where it becoming a household subject and like how it really integrates into society is just happening at an exponential speed. So best thing I could recommend for somebody wanting to get in the non-alcoholic beverage industry, aloha at oceanbeachcafe.com. It's a good place to reach me.
What are
Some
some
key lessons that I learned from my experience. It was like major things that I thought I knew about myself and what I was good at, and I wasn't. For me, that's great. I don't got an ego about it. I love people, and I love working with people. I've managed a bunch of bars. I worked in a whole bunch of restaurants. Like, let's put it all together in this first year. And then realizing like, oh, okay, so my fun freestyle ways of being a cool boss and operating a space, that is not the best kind of personality to have as a manager. Got it. Okay, cool. So let's hire somebody else who's good at that. And apparently I'm not as good at it as I thought I would be or as I am. Some of the other things I learned that were huge was like, I wanted to start out with a really small, everything is delicious menu. And came out with the first menu with a great chef. And then learned, oh my God, that isn't small enough. And while it is delicious, it was way too complex. And you can lose money in your business based on like one food item that you have on your menu. I also learned one employee can change the vibe of an entire space. That was really interesting to me. So hire well, and if somebody's changing the vibe of the whole space, like you have to figure out how to get somebody else that really complements it. And sometimes you got to pay extra for that, especially these days. Some of the other big lessons that I learned was, if you really don't like doing something, really try to figure out a way to find the person that does like to do that thing and pay them for it.
What are your personal goals for Ocean Beach Cafe in the coming years?
My coming goals for Ocean Beach Cafe in the future is to continue to have it as an anchor of my brand. The DBA, or the doing business as, is Ocean Beach Cafe, but the parent company is called In a Good Way, LLC. That can have other companies. So Ocean Beach Brands is the next chapter in the Ocean Beach Cafe saga, and Ocean Beach Brands is a portfolio of beverages, 10 bottles and cans in that portfolio of Ocean Beach Brands. Every single one of those is going to be multitudes of magnitude better than anything else out there. We only want the best of the best stuff to be selling and to be educating and to get out to the bartenders of different cities. So Ocean Beach Brands will be synonymous with like, oh, if that's in the Ocean Beach Brands portfolio, then that must be amazing. The biggest thing that I am focused on for 2024 is I will have a 5-minute sizzle reel to pitch to Netflix for a non-alcoholic beverage traveling show before the end of the year. I am so passionate about that because I believe that what we have to share, even in just 5 minutes to pitch to Netflix, when they say yes, what kind of awareness and education that is going to give to hundreds of thousands of people, I know will bring more wellness into their lives. When we get to let people know what just happened in the non-alcoholic beverage industry, where we're at right now, and what's really good right now, and then what we're going to be drinking in a couple years, and what that means for the way that we get together and socialize. When people get that information, it's going to be like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I know why everybody's talking about non-alcoholic this and that. And then they're going to be like, I would like to participate in that. Like, I have an interest in not drinking, or I don't drink. And like, that's so great. There's going to be a future where there's spaces that aren't going to be revolved around alcohol. It's amazing. But getting that information is going to be a big part of it.
How do you hope to influence the non-alcoholic industry through your work?
I see myself as influencing the non-alcoholic beverage industry by being honest and taking my experience as a bartender, giving feedback and constructive criticism in a very real and honest way, and yet diplomatically. And I naturally think more progressively, and I'm into what is going to happen next. And I want to be able to share that information with the right people in the right places that can help build the next brands, to help build the next social spaces that come out. I want to be able to meet somebody who, if I said, I need $2.5 million to change the non-alcoholic wine industry, and that person says, that's a drop in the bucket for me. Like, what's your plan? I'm going to be like, here's the business plan for that. Like, let's go save the wine industry in 2 years. I want to be able to work on new technologies that make higher quality products. There's a couple major things that I would love people to know, and that is every time that I'm talking with people about non-alcoholic beverages, the non-alcoholic beverage industry, for those that are more entrepreneurial and business-minded, or any CEO, or any bar manager, or any person on the street, or every mom and brother, anybody, is all of them are like, oh my God, really? That's so interesting. Like, there's this energy in the conversation, not just for me because I'm like this, but they're just like genuinely interested in that energy and that curiosity. There's so much, it's so palpable all the time with all different fields, all different industries, all different peoples, from the biggest CEO to hospitality groups to sommeliers, everybody. Everybody's like, oh my God, like that energy right there is eventually going to start to get harnessed and focused into something amazing, because once the money gets complemented with that focus, then amazing things that can happen. And this all points to just having more wellness in one's life and just feeling better and being more focused and driven and productive when you wake up. Yeah, one of the things I like to share is, when I say I took a year off drinking to see what would happen. So that essentially was 2020. I brought alcohol back into my life 2.5 years later or something. I didn't keep dates, but I've gotten to think about like why I did that and what I experienced. And I did it, for me personally, it was like, let's see what kind of alcoholic I am and how that affects my life, or how that affects my career, or how that affects my interpersonal relationships or my business. And I got a lot of information from that, which was really fascinating. And I like to bring it up because another reason why I consciously made that decision to drink alcohol, it wasn't just because of the massive amount of hours that I was working, and I was just like going to my house and sleeping and then working and sleeping and then drinking at night. It was because I also wanted to do that in hopes that I could tell the story one day, in hopes that it helps others. And what I got from that as I stopped drinking after that was, and then back and forth. There was definitely back and forth that happened. And in that back and forth, where I think I got some of the biggest lessons, and it was like, the long and short of it is, if I give myself permission to drink in my life, it looks kind of like this. If I don't give myself permission to drink and I go throughout my life, it looks like this. What this looks like is so much brighter. It feels so much better. And I wake up and I'm like, let's go. I feel driven. I feel motivated. I feel sharp. The conversations that I had, oh my God. Since I went back and forth so many times, the conversations and like the strategies and the things I have to think about, I have so many very different things to do every single day. Can you imagine doing that with an injured brain? Like, I feel like I was injuring myself. I could literally feel it right here. I knew that my sense of humor, my ability to strategize, and my ability to like talk to people and do things like really efficiently with my brain was completely sacrificed. So there's this way, for me, this is my story. I'm not saying everybody are problem drinkers like myself. There's this, and then there's this, and it's very clear, and it's very much so what I want to participate in. I got way too much stuff going on to have something holding me back. So get excited. If you're thinking about doing something different as far as what part alcohol has in your life, if you're thinking about that, get excited about what happens when you remove that from your life to see what happens, what fills it, and what gets better. Sounds like fun to me.
I want the last thing you said, the last topic was amazing. I would like to post that as like a separate thing on your personal Instagram. I think that's just like really inspiring for a lot of people who are struggling right now.
Thank you guys so much for listening to all of this, and please feel free to reach out on any of these subjects. I'm always available. There is a subscribe button. It's like right over there. And I would love to hear from you. Follow us for more episodes because they're coming out soon. This is about to get really fun. You can find me at Josh the Non Alcoholic, which is on Instagram. You also have to check out ocean.beach.cafe on Instagram because that is so fun. Aloha at oceanbeachcafe.com is also a good email to reach out. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching.